A snake decided to eat a porcupine. Doesn't sound like a bright idea, and yet this happened. In 2015, a weirdly swollen python was discovered in a game reserve in South Africa. At first, the park staff had no idea what exactly the snake's dinner was, until one morning it was found dead. It was then that the people found a 30-pound porcupine inside. Apparently, the python fell from the rocky ledge, and the impact made the quills pierce the digestive tract. As a result, the python died. Did the snake know that wasn't the safest prey to eat? I think it did. According to snake experts, it's not unusual for pythons to feed on porcupines. They're generally not very picky, though they can't digest the quills. According to a 2003 study, they sometimes pierce the snake's body, and it seems like this can happen even after the rest of the porcupine has already been digested. But the snakes still continue to take risks. Imagine how hungry they must be. Unlike pythons, dogs that become victims of porcupines aren't going to eat anyone. They're driven by curiosity. What is this strange thing rustling ahead? To be honest, when I first saw a porcupine, I was also curious. The only difference is that I didn't get closer and didn't dive into the quills head first. But dogs do that because they explore the world with their nose. As a result, dogs hurt their faces, sometimes even from the inside. Come on, good boys don't bite porcupines. Catfish are another matter. They are fish, and you don't expect much from them. They often swallow things that aren't meant to be swallowed. Fish hooks, some kind of trash, turtles. Turtles? Seems to be true. A 5-foot-long catfish, which tried to swallow a turtle, was pulled out of the German Göttingen-Chiemsee Lake. Well, you know, these guys are omnivores, and the catfish probably just couldn't resist the temptation, but overestimated its strength. The fish suffocated. Very ironic of nature. The turtle, by the way, also died. It turned out to be too big and just got stuck in the catfish's throat, leaving both of them no chance to survive. But if you think a turtle's an odd choice, what about a pigeon? I honestly never expected catfish would start preying on pigeons, but they do. They swim up to the pigeons who just want a drink, and then they lunge at them like crocodiles lunge at antelopes at a watering hole. The difference is that you can actually expect this behavior from crocodiles. As for the beavers, wait, what beavers? Where did the beavers come from? Where's the missing page? Why is there a third page after the first one? Hey, Steve! Steve! All right. So, beavers. These guys start having problems when it comes to planting. To build a dam, they need a tree. A tree needs to be gnawed. The gnawed tree will fall. The question is, where exactly? Well, right on the beaver. It's not some isolated case that happened only once. Occasionally, trees fall on beavers, though usually beavers watch out for that and jump back in time. But there's a difference between knowing it's time to jump and understanding where exactly to jump. Sometimes animals just get confused and, well, you get the idea. But even if beavers didn't need to build dams, they simply need to chew on something hard because their teeth never stop growing, and they do so at an alarming rate. 4 feet per year. That's more than the body length of an adult beaver. If the beaver doesn't chew on something, it can become sort of saber-toothed. Well, it'll also die for sure. How could you survive with teeth like that? Or if your own mother feeds you cigarettes. On a beach in Florida, a black skimmerbird was spotted literally feeding its chick a cigarette butt. And it wasn't an attempt to teach the chick how to be a bad boy. These birds catch prey right from the water, skimming along it with their sharp beak. They don't see what's floating there. If it floats, it means it's alive. If it's alive, then it's edible. If it's edible, then it can be fed to the chick. When it comes to people, you don't need to tell me that cigarettes are generally a harmful thing. What about birds? Birds that can mistake cigarette butts for food are much smaller than us. It takes a smaller dose of nicotine to poison them. There are no exact statistics on this topic, but there were stories about, for example, an African gray parrot whose organs failed due to eating cigarette butts. Even if nicotine doesn't lead to death, it can result in nausea, vomiting, and convulsions in the animal. Smarter birds don't try to eat cigarette butts, they use them for their own purposes. Before mankind invented cigarettes, some birds carried certain herbs into their nest to get rid of parasites. But new times require new solutions. So urban birds began to carry cigarette butts into their nests. It's known that nicotine can indeed act as an arthropod repellent. Well, people know this, not animals, but they apparently also figured this out. So if you believe the studies, and yes, there are studies about cigarette butts and nests, then it seems like birds even manage to put nicotine to good use. The thing is, even a simple exposure to a cigarette butt through the beak causes genetic damage that can lead to cancer. In short, smoking is bad. Don't do this. After stories about birds who figured out how to use cigarette butts to disinfect their nests, the behavior of eagles seems especially funny, because these majestic, proud birds crash into twigs. I'm serious, they really do this. When they're about to land in a nest, they miss and look as ridiculous as it gets. Maybe it's the wind or miscalculations, or maybe the eagles have always had trouble landing and are used to it. And we just had no clue. Imagine you're a baby eagle and you see your parent flying towards you, then crashing into the nearest tree. Ouch! This feeling of embarrassment for a parent who did something silly? But you know who got really unlucky? This baby elephant. Because he got up in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think the elephant deliberately marked the baby, and to be honest, I don't think he was offended. Actually, this is a completely normal behavior for elephants. And baby elephants even consume the poop of adults on purpose because it contains bacteria that aren't yet produced in baby stomachs. Well, I hope you aren't eating anything right now. If you are, my bad. Meanwhile, Rams? What is it with the script today? You know what? I'll find something really interesting. Here, koalas. Everyone knows koalas are very cute animals who are endangered because of humans. Well, humans are to blame for everything that happens on Earth, though I believe few people think about koala intelligence. Actually, koalas are incredibly stupid animals. Since they have to eat eucalyptus leaves, which don't provide much energy, koalas have reduced their energy consumption, thereby reducing brain size and starting to think as little as possible. That's thrifty. It even sounds reasonable, but only until the fires begin. Unlike kangaroos, birds, or snakes, koalas don't run from fire, but climb trees to the canopy where they can curl up and wait. For what? Well, until everything sorts itself out. You get it, right? Everything around it is burning, and the koala just sits on a tree like, well, this is fine. Does it ring any bells?
This is fine.
Do you need any more proof that koalas are, shall we say, not the smartest creatures? Look, this guy has no idea that the tree painted on the wall isn't real. He isn't bothered by the fact he couldn't grab the leaves the first time, or the second, or the third. Actually, koalas are so stupid they can't even figure out that the eucalyptus leaves they're trying to eat might not be on a tree. Such a complicated concept doesn't fit in their plain little brains. If you get a bunch of eucalyptus leaves and put them on a plate in front of a koala, the animal won't know what to do with them, which is why in all rehab centers, koalas are fed only from branches. And you know, knowing all this, it's weird that koalas managed to survive up to the 21st century. Whew. Well, looks like I did a good job finding interesting facts on my own, let alone in a couple of minutes. Ain't that right, Steve? All right, what's with these rams of yours? Rams jump, and they do it often and usually with success. Like this male who was calmly minding his business on the mountain, then saw sheep behind the fence and decided that it was time to visit them. But he didn't take into account the electric cable above, so he just hung there. Of course, the animal tried to free itself, but for all its effort, it only slid down the wire and hung at a height of 16 to 20 feet above the ground. This is how locals found this ram. They thought for a while how to help an amorous animal, and in the end, they decided to pull it back up the mountain where the animal came from. What if that wasn't a ram, but a horse? A horse on the roof! In the Canadian province of New Brunswick, a horse-breeding couple discovered a 1-year-old colt on their garage one morning. Perhaps he somehow jumped 3 feet high and climbed onto the roof. Later, when the owners tried to take the colt down, he went down just as calmly. To prevent any more horses from being on the roof, they had to set a fence up there. Just think about it, a fence on the roof to keep horses away. After that, turtles that ride alligators actually seem normal. Yeah, they do ride them. For an alligator, turtles are more like a hard-to-get canned food. But they don't ask predators permission when they need to quickly get from point A to point B. Turtles simply use alligators as a mode of transportation, and sometimes as a place for swimming, or as a way of protection. Every time the turtles are worried about their safety, they climb on the alligator. What do the reptiles think about this? Well, they don't seem to be aware of it. The skin on their back is quite thick. Imagine you swimming calmly, not knowing a turtle is riding on you, and your friends are laughing at you. But you know what I'm interested in? Do the turtles themselves know where they're going? Because some sea turtle species just swim. An international team of scientists mapped the movements of hawksbill sea turtles. Turns out that during migrations over short distances, these animals chose very strange routes. One individual, for example, swam 811 miles to reach an island which was only 109 miles away. It's like heading for a certain store in the mall, checking out 8 more stores along the way. Why do turtles do that? Most likely the reason lies in the geomagnetic map. It's not very accurate. That is, guided by the Earth's magnetic field, the turtle can realize something is off only when it deviates too much from the course. As long as the direction is more or less accurate, it can circle around for months without stopping for snacks. Yeah, no foods included during the travels. See you later.